It's been a bit of a manic week though with the Viktor Gyokeres stuff. There's been obviously talk of the Man United being rejected, the president's comments, now Arsenal apparently making a bid, preparing a second bid, then putting it on ice. This is a lot of talk from Portuguese outlets, especially. Just first of all, I'd love to get your understanding of the situation and where Arsenal are on the Viktor Gyokeres front.
Yeah, it's a tough one because obviously the reporting from Portugal, and I'm not doubting reporting from Portugal, is I'm sure that the reports are well sourced over there, but it's been very hard to firm them up from our side over here, if you see what I mean. And as you said, there's been reports of an actual sort of formal offer being made and that sort of stuff. And I've not been able to have that confirmed. So I'm not sure. I couldn't sit here right now and say that is the case. If I was leaning one way, I'd probably say that's not the case. That there might have been sort of talk of numbers involved, and okay, we might. What if if we offer this? But in terms of a formal offer, where sort of really official offer on paper, all that sort of stuff, I'm not sure that I would say that that's where we are right now. I think there's been talks held. Clearly, there was talks held. There were some really good details in some of the reports that came from Portugal about, the where the meeting took place, who was at a meeting, all that sort of stuff. And that sort of detail comes from somewhere. Someone's been told that as fact. But in terms of an actual firm offer made, I'm not sure that's the case. I have to say, I think it might be a little bit different from that. Numbers might have been talked about, but that's as far as we've got. It's been very hard to sort of keep on top of it because each day things have seemingly moved on to such an extent in terms of if you were following it from the Portuguese side, from the reports that we saw over there, from the meeting taking place, a formal offer being made, Gyökeres choosing Arsenal, then Arsenal freezing talks. That all happened in the space of about 48 hours, according to the reports over there. While over here, you've not seen that backed up anywhere really in terms of firm reporting from anyone within the Arsenal press pack, and I've certainly not, been able to be in a position to be able to back that up as well. So it's been kind of hard to sort of sift through what you think might be correct and what's not correct. So I don't think we're really any different to where we were last time we spoke, in all honesty, Ben. I think we're still at the stage where we know that Arsenal are looking at both strikers, and as of this point, they haven't really sort of put the foot down to the floor and gone in the direction of one or the other at this stage, which is kind of confusing, kind of baffling. I don't know why they're taking this long. I share the fans' frustration on it. They want to see the club be, just sort of attack the window with a bit of intensity, and we haven't really seen that yet. So I can understand why there is frustration sort of building amongst the fan base at this.
Yeah, just speaking about obviously Gooners are frustrated. I think especially seeing the likes of every other big six club, if you will, have already made at least one permanent signing this summer. City have already made four, including the goalkeeper Bettinelli. Liverpool about to make their second and third, with Wirtz and Kirkez joining after Frimpong. And you'd expect there to be Arsenal's main two title rivals this season. So, by the sounds of it, you are equally frustrated that there's still not a deal over the line. But at the same time, can you look at it in the way that Arsenal are really biding their time, making sure because they have to get this window right, they have to get the striker call correct. So is it maybe a good thing they're taking their time, making sure they do get it perfectly, 100% correct, or do you just want to see a player through the door as soon as possible?
Well, I don't want to see just a player through the door, but I feel like, I mean, how long do they want, really? Because it's not like this is just this summer they've been thinking about it. They didn't do anything in January because they were thinking about it. Last summer, they didn't get the striker they wanted. And they sort of kept their powder dry after missing out on Sesko last summer. So it's not like, they've only just started this process. It's been going on for an awful long time now. And I was certainly, as last season started to wind down, very much hoping that I was going to see Arsenal attack the window with real intent early doors, especially when the striker situation, just go out and get it sorted. You want one. You've had enough time to decide who the guy is you really, really want. So go out and get it done. So, yeah, I would have liked to have seen them. And to be honest, I expected them to really go out quickly in this window. It must be noted, of course, that we are literally on day two of the transfer window now, the main section of the transfer window. Obviously, we had the first mini one ahead of the Club World Cup, and that has kind of skewed perspective a little bit, I think, because you talk about Man City there, Chelsea, clubs like that, but they were doing deals specifically so they could play in this tournament. A couple of other clubs took advantage of that. Liverpool, for example, with the Frimpong deal. So I think perspective has been skewed a little bit by that. So it must be noted that we are only in the very, very early stages of the actual transfer window. And so Arsenal do have time. It's not a massive rush, but it would have just been nice, I think, for everyone just to have seen that striker situation or a firm grasp of the striker situation taken early doors, so we kind of knew, okay, they're doing what we need, what we all know they need to be doing. But at the moment, because it feels like, certainly from the outside, that they haven't really sort of decided who they're going for yet. That just kind of makes it feel like there's a bit of confusion behind the scenes, and that's not what, as Arsenal fans, you want to see in such an important window.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying there about you don't think Arsenal have made their firm decision on who their top striker target is, because you were saying a few weeks ago that you thought, privately they knew who their number
Yeah,
one target was going
I
to be.
think they will have done, but it's just from the outside it looks like. But the sort of what this whole situation is causing is just the look of confusion from the outside. So I'm sure behind the scenes they know. I mean, they must know. They've had so long. So they must know. But because we haven't really seen them take action yet, one way or the other, in terms of which direction they're going, it just kind of looks like they don't really know what they're doing, or they haven't really taken a decision yet. And that just, I think, adds to the frustration of the fan base when, I mean, they must know, Ben. They must know. They've had so long to think about it. They must know. And so from my view, I just think they really need to just go and do it. Just get out there and get the player that they need, and then move on to other areas.
Yeah, because it is not, Arsenal do have three or four areas that they do need to address
Mm.
this summer. But of course, there's been what you're saying about numbers. First of all, there's not been a lot of talk about the figures that will be involved and if it will be a problem for Arsenal. Because I think if they went for Gyökeres or Sesko, they'd still cost around maybe the 60 to 80 million range. And the Sporting president has come out and said that, there's no gentleman's agreement, as was originally reported. But he won't demand the full release clause because he said no player leaves Portugal at 27 for 100 million euros. Just in terms of the price of both deals, which we haven't really spoken about much before, given that Gyökeres is about, I think, nearly 5 years older than Sesko, if Sporting do hold out for a higher fee for Gyökeres than Leipzig do for Sesko, would that be a red flag for you? How much does the price matter when it comes to these deals? And do you think that could also be a factor that Arsenal is still trying to figure out, and that's why it's taken a bit longer?
Probably. I think, I mean, money wise, as fans, it's not really our money, if you see what I mean. So I don't think it will bother them too much. I can understand from the club point of view, certainly. If you're looking at Gyökeres and Sesko and you're weighing up between the two, and both are basically going to cost, say, 70 million, give or take, which probably is looking like it's going to be the case at the moment. You would imagine Sesko is far more the more you'd swing towards Sesko, wouldn't you? Because he's so much younger. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of untapped potential. Sell on value is there. Gyökeres, you sign for that amount of money, it might be great for a couple of seasons, but then he gets towards 30. You've got no sell on value, so it would be understandable if you start to think and go towards Sesko. I think Sesko is definitely the most sensible sign. I've said that before. It's the sort of sign in that if the club mates, you think you can look at it and think, yeah, that's I can understand why they've done that. Gyökeres, I think, comes with a risk because of where he's been playing his football, who he's been scoring his goals against, his age, and what the value will be. So I think Sesko is definitely the most sensible signing, and I think money-wise, the Cronkies, Tim Lewis, everyone is sort of their job is to balance the books and make sure money has been spent in the best areas. I could see, I can absolutely understand them sort of thinking that Sesko will be the better option of the two. Um, so yeah, I thought it was interesting what Sporting's owner was saying. And gentlemen's agreements have got to be the worst things in football, really. I mean, what is the point of them? They just don't. It never works, and it always turns into a messy situation, as we've seen with Sporting and with Gyökeres now. There's no way 100 million. That's just not going to happen, And I think if he's really realistically looking at around sort of 80 million mark, I think he might be pricing the striker out of a move as well.
Yeah, I always think back to that Harry Kane, Daniel Levy gentleman's agreement from I think 2021 it was, and I feel the same as you. It's like a handshake is that doesn't mean anything, especially you just got to have something firmly in writing.
Yeah.
Moving away from that onto another English striker. At the same time, it said that Arsenal were freezing talks with Gyökeres. Also, the Ollie Watkins link started to re-emerge. Of course, Arsenal were linked with him in January, didn't get a deal over the line. Of course, he's got Premier League experience, but he's approaching 30 as well. I think the report said an 80 million price tag, so a bit much. But say if you could drive the price down, Is this one that you could see Arsenal exploring, or would this be like an emergency backup option for you?
I mean, I think it certainly falls into the emergency backup option. I could understand that deal in January when, because of what had gone on and who was available, and if that deal was available at the right price, I could see why Arsenal would have done that. I kind of look at it now, 6 months down the line in the summer when you've got more long-term options that you're looking at. I feel like some things probably have to have gone pretty wrong in the market for Arsenal to end up going back for Ollie Watkins this summer. Arteta does love signing Premier League player, Premier League experience. The numbers suggest that, the stats suggest that. I think it's over 50% almost of the players Arsenal have signed in certainly in the last sort of 4 or 5 years since the trajectory started going upwards at Arsenal have Premier League proven players. So it's something that they believe in, and when you look at Arsenal's success over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's that's a sort of philosophy that has proven to be successful because the team has done better. When you look at Declan Rice, Leandro Trossard, Jorginho, all those sort of players, they've been good signings. So I wouldn't sit here right now and rule it out completely, but I think it definitely sort of that would be something later on in the window if your first, second choice targets haven't been able to be got, then maybe it's something you go down. But I think maybe the ship sailed in January when it comes to Ollie Watkins.